All the shit takes about people doing what they want with their own business just proves that the pores are the loudest and most ignorant of the population. Mauled more. It won't unfuck your credit score. Okay, first thing, as soon as you refer to people as the pores, your opinion is immediately invalidated. And you, in my eyes, are a shitty person. Also, second thing, how can I possibly mauled more if their Twitter account's locked? Hi, how are ya? My name's Beta, and today we're going to be talking about freelance artists upping their commission prices and why you shouldn't be upset about it. But in all seriousness, furry Twitter has had its usual monthly debacle, and I see this potentially as an opportunity to fully cover a subject and make people more aware about artists' situations with what they're doing. And keep in mind, this is not specifically for the furry community. I know this revolves around furry drama, but this can also apply to just any sort of freelance art community. Like, even if you're in a completely different community or fandom and take commissions, this still can somewhat apply. So why are furries yet again arguing about prices for commissions? Well, it all starts a few days ago when the fursuit maker known as Made For You updated their website with how they're going to be going about doing commissions in the future. Updated our website a bit with new info. More to come. Please take a look if you plan on commissioning us. This will be a slow transition till we find a routine that suits us. We are trying to find a balance for everyone to be happier. We have great designs brewing. We have worked solidly more than full time for the last 10 years. We are finally wanting to slow down and enjoy some life outside the shop. We have mostly been 1 to 2 people. Family and personal life deserve some more time. Mental health is declining. Please respect us. We have gotten many negative thoughts about these changes. We just feel like some deserved time is needed. With a happier, less stressed mindset and more time individually, clients will get the personal time working with them and not a long queue and delayed emails. We are still figuring this out, but please look at this as a small business who has put so much time into our craft. We are people outside of this. Burnout is not fun. Things are subject to change, but for now, this is what we need. Thank you. So what's the context of this? Are they really receiving negativity for the changes they made? And in fact, what are the changes to begin with? Well, if you go to Made For You's website, you'll see that they changed how they go about taking commissions. Instead of doing the usual fill out a form and they'll pick and choose which commissions they want to work with, they're going to take 4 commission slots that will be auctioned off. So that means whoever is the highest bidder for a Made For You slot can get a commission from them when they open again. And I'm gonna be honest, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. They can run their business how they please. People can be understandably upset if they were looking to commission the same way before and it's a bit harder now, but ultimately I'm happy for Made For You. They're making a decision that is trying to find a balance between work and life. Because believe it or not, fursuit makers and freelance artists do have lives outside of what they do. In my case, I do as well. I don't sit here and look at Twitter all day. I have friends and family that I spend time with. And even outside of YouTube, I have other hobbies that I like pursuing. Now, Made For You's decision is completely understandable, and to most people, they're in agreement that it is. And taking a step back so burnout and feeling overwhelmed as a maker doesn't happen is completely reasonable. In fact, it's pretty hard to do when the entirety of a company is on your shoulders. And this goes for any freelance artist or small business owner. Everything is on you. So even making the decision to take a step back for your own mental health and well-being is very tricky and very commendable. But most people would be pretty understanding in this case of Made For You's decision. Some people might be frustrated, I can see that, but at the same time, you understand that the business is ran by a person. So all this should be understandable and there should be no issues whatsoever, right? Well, not necessarily. This is Twitter after all. Some folks were so extremely upset about Made For You's decision that they completely missed the point of why they made the decision to begin with. And I have a few tweets that I want to go over that are just so extremely out of touch, and I feel like are only a fraction of what these makers and artists probably have to deal with outside of just public view. So for those that enjoy it, here's your spicy furry take of the day. Really disappointed to see Made For You is no longer accessible to people making less than 6 figures. This goddamned community. Make up your mind. It's either eat the rich or artists can charge whatever they want. It doesn't go both ways. And we'll talk about the whole eat the rich concept in a bit, but we've got another tweet to go over that's even worse than this. All the shit takes about people doing what they want with their own business just proves that the pores are the loudest and most ignorant of the population. Mauled more. It won't unfuck your credit score. Okay, first thing, as soon as you refer to people as the pores, your opinion is immediately invalidated. And you, in my eyes, are a shitty person. Also, second thing, how can I possibly mauled more if their Twitter account's locked? But these tweets got me thinking, just how much do artists and makers have to deal with on the sidelines that isn't publicly directed at them? As in like emails or messages from people, sort of similar to this, if not even more unreasonable. How much pressure they must be under from people that are unhappy with the decision that they didn't get their commission slot taken, or they're now running their business the way this person sees sees fit. And that's why I just continue to have just the utmost respect for any sort of freelance artist, just based on what they have to deal with. Not me or any of their clients, but just the people on the sidelines who are just angry for no reason. And that's what I feel like is coming from like these tweets. Like they're just extremely angry and outrageously upset, but they can't find a valid reason to be upset other than I'm just not gonna get what I want. Which, spoiler alert for everyone, like all things in life, especially with luxuries like fursuits and art commissions, you are not entitled to get one from your dream maker. You're just not entitled to it at all. There is a chance that you will never get your dream maker's fursuit. I hate to break it to you, but that's the reality of it. You know, maybe I might have wanted a made for you fursuit. Am I gonna cry about it to Twitter and degrade the business and make the makers feel bad? Fuck no. I have standards, and so do most people. And even going back to the first tweet with just how out of touch it is, they mention eating the rich. Eating the rich does not apply to freelance artists and fursuit makers. More often than not, it applies to like multi-million-dollar conglomerates, people made of billions of dollars, hoarding away money and strangling the economy for more because that money's just sitting there. It's not making use, it's being used for like the grandchildren's children. That's what's meant by eating the rich, not a fursuit maker who's increasing their prices or even auctioning off slots for the sake of their mental health to be able to live a bit more. Like this lashing out towards made for you is absolutely uncalled for. And also it doesn't bode too well if you really wanted a fursuit from them in the future if you're tweeting this shit, just saying. So even though this whole debacle is only in the case for made for you, this still applies to pretty much any freelance artist out there. Whether you're making fursuits or taking commissions for a custom made piece of art, this sort of lashing out is absolutely disrespectful. And I feel like with tweets like this being very prevalent and happening literally every single time an artist or a popular maker ups their commission prices, there's such a disconnect and lack of understanding of the person behind the business and really just how freelance artistry works. Now, before I break things down, little TLDR, I'm going to be speaking for most, if not all, freelance artists out there. So if I say anything that's just wrong, please let me know. So let's get one thing straight with regards to freelance artistry of any kind. Artists who do what they do online as a business, selling commissions, they do what they do because they love doing it. And if they can sell commissions at a reasonable price, take on a reasonable amount, and support themselves doing that as a business, they will do it. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just because a freelance artist is popular and they have thousands of followers on social media, their queues fill up every single time they open within seconds, and they can't take on every single person who wants to commission them, does not mean they are making an exorbitant amount of money. I've seen this argument all over the place. Just because an artist is popular does not mean that they are making a ton of money. This argument that I've seen from people is so extremely out of touch that I just wanted to level with you guys and take care of that one and done. And here's the thing, I know furries are against the corporatization of the furry fandom with like having factory made fursuits and just, you know, the ones at Walmart that you can pick up or whatever, but like, this is not the same thing, but by any means. Another thing on top of this, with regards to businesses and running the way you do commissions. Any of you watching this, your definition of how to run a business or how an artist should run a business is not how they will run it. You can give them whatever advice you want. They do not have to follow it. And just because they don't follow it does not mean they're an awful person. And just to go back to the argument of artists not being able to take every single commission they can, I can guarantee that they feel bad about that. But within reasonable standards of like being able to live outside of their work, they can't take everything. And it's also not supposed to be an evil thing either. I swear, like some people have this weird mentality that when you get declined for a slot for either a fursuit commission or furry art, that it's just a personal attack. Or some people have this weird complex of thinking that artists are sitting back in their chairs at their drawing tablets looking through commissions of like, furry lover 46 wants their furry fox doing what? Nah, they suck and they're awful. I'm gonna decline them. Like, I can guarantee you that is not how it works. And even if that's how a furry artist does it, one, is it really your business? And two, they're ultimately entitled to do that. If they really wanted to, they can do that. That goes with being able to run a business the way you want it. So ultimately, these points come down to a lack of empathy and understanding. You know, the reason why your favorite artist won't accept your commission isn't because they're making so much money that they don't have to take take on yours, but more often than not, it's just because they reasonably can't. And if they did, they'd either be exhausting themselves even further, running themselves even more ragged, and on top of that, you could be getting an incomplete commission. You wouldn't have as personalized of an experience, especially if it's a commission. Like, that's the big difference between someone who's selling a set product and someone who's taking a commission. Because when it comes to art commissions of any kind, it's not a set price. It's always going to fluctuate with each and every commission you take. Someone wants just a sketch, $25. Someone wants a fully designed art piece, well, $300. Meanwhile, someone who's selling a set product is going to have a set sell rate for that exact product throughout. The ultimate lesson of this video is just empathy. Have a little bit of it. Or humility, maybe? Humanity? Just be nicer. That's it. So now that we understand some of the issues people might have with artists and why it's somewhat unreasonable, I want to go over a few examples to somewhat humanify, like, people behind small businesses and freelance artists. And there are two examples that I want to go through. One is a tweet from Cyberwolf, which TLDR, they're the owner of Made For You, who talks about the changes to Made For You's fursuit commissioning process further and why they changed what they did for their own mental health. The second example is a tweet thread from another fursuit maker who discusses the balance between work life and like client management. There's a fine balance that makers need to find, and they discuss, you know, some of the pros and cons with what comes and goes with doing it. But either way, I'm going up here so we can discuss it and you can look at me read it instead of it cover up my face. And keep in mind, this first thread is very humanizing to like the person behind Made For You. So they've been in the fursuit making business and pretty much just freelance artistry for over a decade now. And hopefully their thread will help you realize just why they're making the changes they are. So the tweet reads as follows. It's sad people have been assuming my business's big change is for money. No, it's for my mental health. I can't keep up with demand. I have to decline more than 75% quotes. And I love most designs. I'm a people pleaser and I know I disappoint people. No matter what I do, I disappoint people. I get by okay financially and nowhere near rich. Over half the money my business makes goes back into the business operations, and I put a lot back into fandom artists and businesses. We are its own little economy. We are living off each other. Support goes a long ways in the fandom, but support in mental health, people seem to forget. I'm finally tired of working myself dry just to get by, and I'm struggling to turn on my computer when I really just want to relax instead of more work at home. Setting boundaries with a high demand is extremely hard, especially for a people pleaser like me. I'm trying to set a boundary to get some of my life back, not to get more money. It's okay to be disappointed, but so many are assuming a lot about me. Plus, nothing is set in stone, and heck, I can take on more work if I feel like it's got room for it mentally. This goes for all artists. I know so many who struggle with this. Artists deserve to set boundaries. This wasn't a light choice, by the way. I have been wanting to do this for years. I keep stretching thin to make more, but I feel I give less. I want to work one-on-one with people, be more social with clients. I don't want to fall apart by being stretched so thin. I have kept it together for 10 plus years now. I need a break. Simple as that. I worked hard for this. I wouldn't be here if it weren't for all of you. I don't want to fall apart on you. There are so many talented people in the fandom. More and more are making beautiful creations. Look around you. I'm in awe at the talent here. Sorry for any typos. I'm in a mood. I hate how furries assume so much. This goes for a lot of stuff besides that. Perhaps reaching out and talking will go a long ways in many topics instead of inciting negative assumptions. I feel like a lot of what I said earlier very much applies to what's being said here. It could just be me. Honestly, I have nothing more to say on what Cyberwolf left here, but I'm hoping and praying to God that these words resonated with some of you. And what they said here applies to not just fursuit makers, but any freelance artist out there. But now let's go on to the second example. So similar to Cyberwolf's tweet, Lion Paw Studios put together an awesome thread kind of just detailing the balance that an artist needs to find in what they're doing online. So I'm going to read through this in full, similar to what I did before. As disappointing as it can be as a client to learn that it may be harder to get a suit from a dream maker, please understand that makers setting boundaries toward a healthier work and life balance is a good thing. Even if you got your heart set on a specific maker, you still have so many options even if you don't get a slot with them. Or you can continue to save up to go all out for a slot. There are tons of other makers to go with. You can even make your own if you're up for it. Often, makers get so bombarded with commission requests that it becomes very overwhelming and can quickly lead to burnout or worse situations. Makers setting boundaries and limiting openings means things get done with both the client and maker's best interests in mind. Setting limits on slots means makers can focus on smaller batches of work. This often means the queue may be finished quicker. You get a suit sooner. It also means makers don't have to manage huge wait lists all at once. Less pressure on quantity means attention to quality. Makers deciding to do only pre-mades means they can focus projects they are extra passionate about. It gives us more room to stretch out our creative muscles, try new techniques, and hone our skills. Our suits usually get better because we can experiment. Makers who decide to hold auctions for custom slots may have a high demand for commissions and get overwhelmed with people asking for slots. An auction that goes to a higher price means a maker can take on less commissions and still be able to pay bills and taxes without worry. While makers appreciate folks who want a suit from them, it can be really hard to manage constant pressure from people to open for slots. When I first started posting my work, I got a lot of people asking for prices and if I was open and when I'll be open next. It can be intimidating. I had to politely inform folks that I will not be taking on work at the time, but it felt like I was letting people down. Thankfully, I've been doing furry art for long enough to know how to set better boundaries and not fall into a never-ending queue, but people still kept pushing. There was no way I was able to take on all the work from folks asking. I sat down and worked on a plan to find out what works for me. I'm still working on it and it may change later on. Everything is divided with my mental and physical health and client satisfaction in mind. My point being, makers who set limitations and boundaries are usually trying to achieve a healthy work-life balance. Take that as a sign that they are usually actively trying to improve the quality of their business for their clients. Don't like something? There are many other makers who may better fit your needs. There's so many, you just have to look for them. You can even try your hand at making your own if you are up for it. Everyone is different. Some things work better for others, but please don't assume makers are only in it for the money. I am so happy to see my fellow makers set boundaries and achieve that work-life balance. And then the last thing they posted was a list, posting a link to a list of makers I've been curating. I've got 700 plus makers of all sizes, styles, experience, and price ranges. I encourage folks to browse the many makers our community has. You never know who you'll discover. So at this point, people saying that there's no fursuit makers open, I'm gonna be honest, you're just kind of lazy. The link to all these different makers is right here. And I know that dream makers are a big thing, but who knows? You could look through this list and find a style that you really fall in love with that is more in tune to what you're looking for a suit. So like I said, this tweet thread pretty much went over what I've discussed so far about what artists kind of go through. I know this is a bit of a jump, but one last thing that I want to highlight, which I'm hoping other artists from all over will go over, is my friend Soatalk's blog post on commission prices for artists. I'm not going to go through it entirely because there's a lot of math stuff that I don't understand at all. Like, yeah, I nearly failed statistics like 3 times in college. I'm an engineer, math isn't for me personally, but this blog post pretty much highlights the best way that you can possibly go through pricing your commissions in the future. And it all takes into account the time, the resources, taxes, pretty much all this nitty-gritty stuff that I don't fully understand as an artist, but Soatalk pretty much highlights here. So I'm going to leave a link to all this in the description of the video, so go and check this out. Also, Soatalk's a dole, and his blog is literally called Dull Moments. And even though this article is focused on furries and the furry fandom, it applies to pretty much all artists out there who are going freelance or taking commissions for work. And that pretty much wrapped things up, in all honesty. All I really wanted to achieve with this was just to highlight some of the wrong opinions that people have, while also giving people resources on just how much is not understood from the client's perspective of what the artist or the commissionee is going through. The one big takeaway that I want you to have from this, which I'm assuming most of you already have, is that artists aren't these big businesses with a chain of command with companies. It's not like Walmart. You commissioning an artist, this isn't like going to Walmart. Also, don't go to Walmart. Artists and fursuit makers are usually run by 1, if not 2 people. And the stresses of handling someone's money and returning a product that is equal to that money is insane. They are already dealing with enough of trying to get by. It might not apply to all artists, but at the very least, just have a little bit of humanity and empathy for artists who are genuinely trying. And the big thing here, and this goes for everyone, if you don't get a commission slot with your favorite fursuit maker, or you don't get your commission slot with your favorite artist, it's not a personal attack on you. A little bit of empathy goes a long way. And especially with how the world is right now, with inflation making prices rise up, not the type of inflation I enjoy, okay? Everyone is struggling and trying. And just because someone has thousands of followers and can take commissions whenever they want, doesn't mean that they're not struggling as well. So don't be like these guys tweeting and assuming so much about a company that that you've never even met the person behind it. But on that note, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to let me know in the comments. I hope I covered everything. I wanted this to be sort of like an end-all be-all for any sort of furry drama that sort of comes and goes again, because you all know furry drama is a flat circle. This is going to happen again. Some other fursuit maker is going to do something and change up their queue, and everyone's going to be upset about it. When I mean everyone, I mean like 2% of people who have awful takes. But even still, I wanted to cover this video as sort of a reference, and if you have any other artist friends out there, be sure to send this video to them. Hopefully this video will serve as some sort of humanifying aspect and reinforcing aspect that artists really do need to be treated with more respect. Also, for those of you who are curious on how to commission an artist, I did a video on how to do that a while back, and I'll leave that linked in the description below. It's a step-by-step tutorial on how to reach out to one of your favorite artists and see the means of if they're open for commissions or not. It also shows a step-by-step process on like what you can say or do throughout the commission process to the point of getting your final art piece. It's a really well put together video, and I highly encourage you to go and watch it if you haven't commissioned anyone already or you need a reminder on how to do so. It's a very, very simple process. It's not rocket science, but I still left it as a tutorial for those that need it. Besides that, I've got a Patreon if you want to support me there, and I live stream on Twitch pretty much every weekday, so come and hang out with me there. We have discussions similar to this very often, and we play through games like Pikmin. It's very terrifying. Besides that, I've got nothing else. Have a wonderful day, and as always, stay life jacket. Take care.